Number 8. Pearl Ozaria, Chitara Plasencia, and Tatiana Johnson. On July the 4th of 2022, a trio of New York women, each in their 20s at the time, were arrested after wreaking havoc at a restaurant called Bell Fries. Shortly after placing an order, the three suspects, identified as Pearl Ozaria, Chitara Plasencia, and Tatiana Johnson, reportedly flew into a rage when they were informed that they'd be charged an extra $1.75 for sauce. The women proceeded to scream at the employees and began throwing stools and glass bottles around the establishment. Two of the women then climbed behind the counter, destroying the plastic barriers that had been set up during the pandemic, and emptied several sauce containers. The whole incident was caught on camera and was later uploaded to TikTok, where it immediately went viral. When the police arrived, they found one of the women dancing on the counter while the others continued to destroy computers and even a cash register. Law enforcement tried to apprehend them, to which Ozaria reacted violently, allegedly punching one of the officers in the face. The attack added resisting arrest and obstructing governmental administration to her impending list of criminal charges, while Plasencia and Johnson were suspected of criminal possession of a weapon. Two of the employees who'd been attacked suffered from minor injuries, while another one was reportedly too traumatized to go back to work in the aftermath. Number 7. Ricky Colin and Amy Hall. On November the 3rd of 2021, 34-year-old Ricky Colin and Amy Hall, aged 45, entered Crumb Together, a bakery located in Eugene, Oregon, poised to make an emphatic political statement. With COVID prevention measures in full swing, the couple were requested to put on their masks before placing an order. Stunned witnesses recorded the assault that ensued after Colin and Hall refused to either cover their faces or leave the establishment. The bakery's owner grabbed a baseball bat, attempting to scare the unruly customers away. Instead, Colin lunged at the man, forcibly took the bat from him, and proceeded to strike him with it several times. Following the attack, the victim was taken to the hospital but fortunately escaped without any severe injuries. In the altercation's aftermath, the couple were arrested and charged with third-degree assault. The arrest added to Colin's existing criminal record, as he'd reportedly faced a misdemeanor charge of trespassing in connection to a similar incident at the Roseburg Public Library earlier in the year. Brian Hinson, the assistant superintendent of special education who witnessed the episode at the library, explained that a maskless Colin had entered the public building with the intention of making a commotion. When asked to leave, the man refused, instead using his cell phone to record the library workers and occupants. The police were eventually called to the scene and Colin was escorted out of the building. It subsequently emerged that the couple had been involved with an anti-mask activist group and had uploaded several videos to YouTube in which they vehemently protested against health mandates related to COVID-19. Number 6. Jose Alba. New York bodega worker Jose Alba was involved in a violent altercation with a disgruntled customer at his store in Hamilton Heights on July the 1st of 2022. The clerk, reported as having been in his 50s or 60s, refused to allow a woman to give her child some snacks after her credit card was rejected multiple times. The female customer got agitated and allegedly grabbed a knife from her purse, which she then used to slash Alba's arm. Later that night, the woman's boyfriend, 37-year-old Austin Simon, entered the bodega to confront Alba about the previous altercation with his girlfriend. He shoved the worker behind the counter before attempting to carry out a robbery. As was captured by the store's security cameras, Alba defended himself by brandishing a knife and stabbing the assailant several times in the neck and chest. The police eventually arrived at the scene and Simon was rushed to the hospital, where he died later that same night. In the wake of the deadly incident, Alba was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. However, the surveillance footage was subsequently released to the public, causing a massive outcry in the store employees' defense, facing the likelihood of a massive public uproar were they to move forward with Alba's prosecution. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office ultimately dismissed the case. By August of 2022, Alba had reportedly decided to leave the United States to return to the city of Santiago, in his native country of the Dominican Republic. His former boss later explained that the man no longer felt safe following his run-in with Simon and had been experiencing flashbacks caused by the emotional trauma he'd suffered. Number 5. Charisse Helena Cleveland. Ohio woman Charisse Helena Cleveland had her request to mix 3 McDonald's slushy flavors denied on June the 14th of 2021, to which she responded by launching a rageful attack on the store's employees. The 44-year-old reportedly jumped behind the counter and threw food around as she attacked the workers. The wild incident was recorded by another customer, which provided local authorities with sufficient evidence to arrest Cleveland. The video, which showed the woman berating the employees and daring witnesses to call the police before she eventually struck a manager, went viral after being posted to social media in the aftermath. Cleveland was charged with 2 counts of misdemeanor assault and was released on a $1,000 bond. The arrest reportedly marked the second occasion in which she'd gotten into trouble with the law. In March of 2015, she'd been sentenced to 2 years in prison and 3 years of probation for felonious assault, kidnapping, and disrupting public service, in connection to an incident the previous year in which she'd attacked her grandmother. In letters written to the judge presiding over her case, Cleveland attempted to justify her actions by stating, "Mental illness strongly runs in my family." She also insisted that she'd tried to be a good citizen and had maintained the same job for 16 years before her mother's death in 2014. In December of 2021, Cleveland was convicted of assault and consequently prohibited from making any form of contact with any of the employees involved in the slushy-related altercation. Number 4. Candace Mosley. On January the 12th of 2020, former NASCAR driver Candace Mosley became irate at manicurist Tiffany Nguyen for speaking in Vietnamese to a co-worker at a nail salon in Oklahoma City. 43-year-old Mosley slapped Nguyen and demanded she use English while in the presence of customers. When a witness tried to call 911, the enraged woman allegedly snapped their phone away before pulling out a pocket knife. Nguyen fell to the ground to preserve herself and would later reveal that Mosley tried to put the blade up to her throat several times. Upon the arrival of police, the assailant shifted her aggression towards one of the officers, whom she physically attacked. Mosley was consequently arrested on charges of assault with a dangerous weapon, resisting arrest, and interfering with a 911 call. After being released on bail, the woman defended her actions during an interview. She stated that she felt her anger was justified because she was paying with American dollars and had asked her 3 times to stop speaking Vietnamese. On February the 17th, roughly a month after the incident, Mosley was found dead in her Ski Island residence, and police subsequently investigated the possibility of foul play. After an autopsy, however, the woman's cause of death was ruled as accidental drowning. Number 3. Kelvis Rodriguez Tormes. 22-year-old Desmond Armand Joshua was manning the drive-thru at a Burger King in Orange County, Florida on August the 1st of 2020 when an armed man entered the parking lot. According to subsequent reports on the matter, the gunman, identified as Kelvis Rodriguez Tormes, aged 37, had returned to the restaurant after his girlfriend, Ashley Mason, had complained about waiting in a long line earlier that day. She'd allegedly threatened to bring her man to handle the situation, a threat which prompted Joshua to refuse her service and refund the money she'd already spent on food. Mason became enraged at the worker and shortly thereafter followed through on her threat to solicit her boyfriend to defend her honor. Upon his arrival at the store, Rodriguez Tormes began screaming at Joshua, demanding he agree to a fistfight before putting him in a headlock. After witnesses managed to separate the two men, Rodriguez Tormes pulled out his gun and shot Joshua at point-blank range. The victim was rushed to the hospital where he ultimately succumbed to his injuries later that night. Mason and Rodriguez Tormes fled the scene in the aftermath but were eventually tracked down and taken into custody. The gunman was charged with first-degree murder with a firearm as well as destruction of evidence, while his girlfriend was accused of aggravated assault with a firearm. Number 2. Victor Lee Tucker Jr. On June the 14th of 2021, Victor Lee Tucker Jr. opened fire at a Big Bear grocery store in Georgia after getting into an argument with one of the store's workers. The confrontation was reportedly sparked when an employee, identified as 41-year-old Laquita Willis, requested that Tucker pull his face mask over his nose. The latter refused and initially stormed away before returning a few moments later with a firearm in hand. He fired several rounds at Willis, killing her instantly. Shortly thereafter, 54-year-old Danny Jordan, an off-duty reserve sheriff's deputy who also worked security at the store, sprung into action. He shot at 30-year-old Tucker but was subsequently struck twice in the ensuing crossfire. When police arrived at the scene, they found the suspect attempting to crawl out the front door, and he was then rushed to the hospital, along with Jordan. Both men reportedly managed to make full recoveries. It later emerged that Tucker had been arrested at least 8 other times before the fatal shooting. He was indicted by a grand jury on charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault against a public safety officer, and possession of a firearm. Number 1. Crystal Whipple. Las Vegas salon manager Nui Annie Nyok Nguyen was fatally struck by a car in the parking lot of Crystal Nails and Spa on December the 29th of 2018. It was subsequently reported that 21-year-old Crystal Whipple had attempted to skip out on a $35 manicure bill, claiming that she needed to retrieve the money from her car after her credit card had initially been rejected. After getting in her vehicle, however, the young woman started to drive away, at which point she was pursued by 51-year-old Nguyen. According to eyewitnesses, the suspect neglected to stop when Nguyen tried to get in front of the moving car. She instead accelerated, dragging the manager's body through the parking lot. The victim reportedly passed away as a result of the critical injuries she'd sustained in the violent collision. Whipple then abandoned the vehicle, a Chevy Camaro, she'd rented before fleeing from justice. A warrant was issued for her arrest and she was ultimately captured 2 weeks later by the FBI in Phoenix, Arizona. Whipple had allegedly been attempting to get to North Carolina at the time of her arrest. She later pleaded guilty to second-degree murder as part of a deal, allowing her to avoid facing the potential consequences associated with her original charges of felony murder, burglary, and robbery. On February the 5th of 2021, the case's presiding judge, Tierra Jones, sentenced Whipple to 10 to 25 years behind bars. Thanks for watching. Would you rather receive 1 minute of free shopping at your grocery store every week, or have all your groceries delivered at no extra cost? Let us know in the comments section below.